She is the host and the second star of the very popular podcast, The Mina Kimes Show, featuring Lenny, that should be The Lenny Show featuring Mina Kimes. Regardless, her football information, what are you shaking your head no about? You're saying no, that's not what should be?
Lenny is like the backup quarterback of an NFL team who never plays, but everyone's convinced is more talented than the starter. Right? Which is like the best thing to be in professional sports. A guy who gets paid $10 million a year, never has to play. The fan base is always going, Lenny, Lenny, every time I struggle. And there's no evidence that he has any skill. That's all I have to say.
Okay, but his expertise is something you should check out. And also, you will get the bonus commentary of Mina Kimes, football information, extraordinary football person who loves football in a way that's totally unreasonable, I would say. You don't have another, like, what is another passion that is in the realm of stimulating your curiosities the way that football does? You love music, obviously you love Lenny, but nothing does it for you the way football does, correct?
Yeah, nothing yet. This will be put to the test pretty soon, I guess. But at the moment, football is number one.
Yes, you're going to give birth soon, and that child will take second place to football.
Unless the child is a football.
That is correct. Can you help me through the first couple of weeks of the season, though? When you get schematically excited about stuff, when you're watching film and coaches are wowing you and awing you with innovation, who are the top coaches that you're looking at and simply saying, because it was Andy Reid for a while there, but I feel like there are a handful of young people who are now competing for his throne.
Very obvious answer is, of course, Mike McDaniel, but I think it's worth taking a beat to note that what he's doing is awing both the casual fan and the extreme film nerds alike. Like, what he's doing is so cool and surprising and difficult to stop that an alien could land on Earth, turn on a Dolphins game and say, that looks hard to stop. And then an X's and O's person who's grinding tape around the clock will say, I don't know how you stop that. So I think he has to be number one with a bullet. I'll throw out a defensive coach that I'm actually really enjoying watching. That's Mike McDaniel in Baltimore. Ravens just beat Cincinnati. His game plans are some of my favorite to watch right now. It's not quite analogous to what Mike's doing on offense, but the amount of disguise, the bluffing pressures, the chaos pre-snap is very fun to watch as well.
Well, we were talking before you came on about everything that just happened with Justin Fields, and we were saying how cool it would be if a quarterback could just stand in front of his locker and say to the media and have the media react reasonably to, guys, it's hard out there and things are moving fast, and I've got a lot in my head. You understand that, and that not to be controversial. Like that, for us, I don't think that even you could explain to the audience how difficult that position is to play when you have to be that fast with your mind, how difficult it is to master.
But if he told the truth, which is, I don't trust my eyes right now. I believe that's the truth because when you watch Justin Fields, there's a lot of moments where he is looking at an open receiver. The offense sucks. There's no doubt about that. It makes no sense to me that he does not get design carries anymore. I don't understand it. However, when you watch his tape, he is looking at open receivers at times, and he is not pulling the trigger. And Dan, if he were to be honest and say, yeah, I don't know, man, I'm really not sure what I'm seeing out there, or I'm questioning whether I'm afraid of throwing interceptions, he would get destroyed because those traits, if we're being honest, are very important to being a good quarterback in the NFL. And I say that as someone who's not throwing in the towel on Justin Fields. But if he can't do that, if he can't improve at that, he's never going to be a successful NFL quarterback. So I don't think he can admit those things because he would correctly be criticized for it.
What are the worst units you've seen in the NFL?
Besides the Bears offense?
Well, that's the reason I asked the question.
Yeah. I mean, the Bears offense is like a horror show every Monday when the tape drops. It's just disgusting and really, really hard to watch. And it's a failure on like many, many people's parts, not just Justin Fields. So that's number one. Shoot. I mean, there's right now, I think actually I haven't seen any like truly awful defenses. I mean, the Bears defense is like quietly getting away with being bad because the Bears offense is so bad. Everybody's like dialed in on that, but that's definitely been an issue. I would say bouncing around the league. Haven't loved what I've seen from the Chargers pass defense, which is, I think, a pretty big storyline. But other than that, offensively, I think some of the offenses that are struggling right now will look better. The thing about week 3 is you really have to look at the schedule, and some of the competition can be a large reason for why certain teams don't, I think, look as good as we expected. Oh, I'll throw in another one. The Panthers offense is very unpleasant to watch. Bryce Young is struggling, but nobody's open in that offense, which is not to absolve Bryce Young, but literally no one's open.
But, Mina, I would say that Bryce Young looks, in my lifetime before the last couple of years, the way every first-year quarterback in his second game tends to look.
Yeah.
I guess maybe before Cam Newton. At some point, the learning curve at this position got so fast that you can't have 2 bad games where you're learning the most difficult position in sports before we pounce.
You know who looks pretty good, though? C.J. Stroud, who is also playing his, this was his second NFL start. I was pretty impressed by his week 2 tape, especially because the questions about him coming into the NFL was, he's playing in such a perfect situation. Ohio State throwing to better wide receivers he'll ever have in the NFL behind a brick wall. Doesn't really play well under pressure. So far through 2 weeks, I think he's been extremely impressive under pressure. The Texans offensive line was missing like 4 out of 5 starters this past week, and he was getting mercilessly attacked, but he was still throwing downfield. He was making plays with his legs. If I was a Texans fan, I'd feel pretty good about what I've seen so far.
Mina, it's Charlotte.
Hey.
Hi, I miss you, first of all. Second of all, can you help me understand how to feel about the New England Patriots right now? Like, is there hope? I feel like there might be hope. Block punt was cool.
That was really cool.
And Mike keeps playing the Wild Thing sound. But yeah, can you help me figure out how to feel?
Were you old enough when the Wild Things movie came out, Charlotte, or was that before your time?
I might have been and just not known it because
that was like the smuttiest movie for kids. I think Mike and I are around the same age, and that was the one where we were like, I was like borderline kids weren't allowed to see it. Anyways, yeah, the Patriots. Actually, what I was saying earlier about how like there's teams where, oh God, you got to really consider competition. I mean, they played the Eagles and the Dolphins, who I think most people would have in their top 5 in the NFL, and they came pretty close to beating both of them. I think the Patriots have an extraordinarily good defense. I think they have a quarterback who's actually not playing that poorly right now. And I think it won't matter because they came into this year with the hardest schedule in the NFL by most advanced metrics, and they're in a very challenging division. It stinks because I don't think they're a bad football team, and they're going to grind out some disgusting low-scoring wins, but they just don't have the talent at the skill positions to keep up with the likes of Miami and Buffalo, in my mind. But the defense is really fun to watch. They do a lot of really cool stuff. They're very multiple, a lot of guys who can do different kinds of things. So I don't think they're going to get like blown out of any games.
I was saying earlier, though, Mina, that the Pats are 2-7 in their last 9 games, and the 2 wins are against Colt McCoy and Skylar Thompson, backup quarterbacks. And not only that, but the Pats this season have 2 offensive plays of more than 20 yards downfield. That must be such an exasperation for people who have watched 20 years of Tom Brady football to watch that looking that way. And I think it's why Tony Maserati of the Boston whatever says he should be fired. He should be fired. That Belichick should be fired.
Belichick.
That's right. 2 games in, fired.
I think Belichick, the GM, deserves a lot of scrutiny for the lack of talent they've added at wide receiver, which is a huge reason why the offense isn't playing well. But Belichick, the coach, I guess I would challenge people, if you can separate them, which you can't because it's 2 guys, it's one person doing 2 jobs. But let's imagine the Patriots had a different GM and live in that world. Do you think a coach would be doing better with the pieces at his disposal? I don't think so, frankly. And I think the offense actually is doing the best that they can right now with what they have. They haven't even been that bad. And like I said, I think Mac Jones is actually playing better than he's given credit for. But Bill Belichick is also the GM, and I do think he deserves a lot of criticism on that part.
What about the last few years beating up on the Dolphins in that division with the best quarterback of all time made him think, oh, Devontae Parker and Gesicki, this is where we go. This is how we win.
I'll tell you what made him think that. I got Wes Welker from them, and Wes Welker had one career touchdown as a Dolphin, and I made him a borderline Hall of Famer.
He made him that?
I mean, what Belichick would think?
He made him that.
Does Belichick think it was Brady, or does Belichick think it was Belichick?
Well, Belichick better look in the mirror, because without Brady, there's a wand stash staring back at him.
Mina, does he have to look in the mirror? Does Belichick better look in the miror?
How long do you think he looks in the mirror every day before he leaves his house?
He's trying to smudge off the Dave wand stash from the reflection.
How do you think Bill Belichick felt getting killed by Braxton Berrios and River Craycraft? By the way, speaking of Wes Welker, what do you think that felt like?
That's what we were saying. After all those years of genius, and he's looking on the field, and he's like, "Really? I can't stop Van Ginkel. I don't know how to stop Van Ginkel. This is what's the end of me."
But
right
he's
here.
being hoisted by his own petard. These, I used it right finally. I think for once in the history of me mangling that phrase, I think I got it right this time.
I don't know why you'd try to bring back hoisted by his own petard, which is something that knights were doing whenever it is that knights were doing knightly things.
Lance is a white receiver in this. Oh, what did I do with my hands?
Don't do that hand gesture again, please. That's very dangerous to do.
I'm looking in the mirror right now. On to the shower.
That's your Belichick impression?
Wow. Wait a minute.
Mirror. I like it.
What would you like about that Belichick impersonation?
He's working really hard
Even
on the
by
little
my
things.
standards, that was bad.
You just got to work in an onto at some point.
We're on to New York. The long snapper really dialed up his training regimen today. And at Black Punt we spent many days working on. If you want to talk about that, I can get into it in extreme detail.
Perfect. We're on, we're on to Cincinnati.
I am urging you to listen to the Mina Kimes podcast with Lenny, because there is nothing like it, I would say, anywhere in football. Mina is still crazed and obsessive about learning about the sport that I'm not going to say is unlearnable, but it is really hard to know all the things that she knows, and you have to do a lot of work in order to keep up with so many changes, Mina, because it changes really quickly. DeShaun Watson has seen the entire sport in the last couple of years change so much that he's no longer good at it, which is baffling to me, Bina. I don't know if it is because you can't have that kind of rust. I don't know if it is because you can't endure what it is that he felt in the off season and come back as the same person, being under the scrutiny of everyone is looking at you and being like, man, you are a person who we don't like. That is not something that DeShaun Watson has had to deal with the entirety of his life. I don't know the energetic strain of somebody and their mind, but DeShaun Watson now stinks at football, and that's a lot of guaranteed money to have at a position that it doesn't seem like he can play very well. And he's got skill players. I mean, it's not like he didn't have help there either.
Sorry, I'm just mentally pivoting. I was spending the entire break preparing to do dolphin sound effects, and you took us to DeShaun Watson, so I'm just
no, let's go. I prefer your choice. Your choice is the better choice. So.
I mean, I would love an explanation as to why DeShaun Watson is bad now.
The game didn't change. He got old. I don't know. Dan, we're going to talk about this in depth on Pablo's show, I guess, doing a little promo for that podcast. But
yeah, he's 28 though. You say he got old. He's 28.
No, let me rephrase that. He got old and spent a lot of time away from football. There's not a lot of precedent for that, for guys who so much of what Watson, and look, the psychological side I can't speak to. We can try to unpack that later. I'm sure that's factoring into all of this, knowing, what the world thinks of you, or a good portion of the world. But what made him so great earlier, and just speaking about the football side, earlier in his career, he was a quarterback who took a lot of sacks. That was always part of his games, kind of not unlike Russell Wilson. But he offset those negative plays, and being quarterback who takes a lot of sacks in the NFL is often a deal killer with magic. I mean, so much of what he did was out of structure, buying time with his legs, finding guys downfield, and then playing with this like incredible confidence to throw the ball to them because he had a beautiful deep ball. What happens when you lose that elusiveness and the magic is you're just left with a guy who takes a lot of sacks because he's not been good at other things. He doesn't look the same to me. He doesn't look the same out there when he moves. He does not look as elusive or agile. He's not buying time in the way that they still use him as a design runner a fair amount. I mean, like they're running like QB power in Cleveland. They're doing whatever they can because the thing is so clearly a bad investment at this point. They're just trying to rescue it.
Is it unfair to look across previous eras like Randall Cunningham's and Michael Vick's? These were really athletic quarterbacks with phenomenal deep balls that Michael Vick is actually a pretty great
That's
comp.
True. That is
because he also dealt with the off the field stuff and came back to a fandom that was all of a sudden turning on him and made him a villain. They were able to do it. What's different about this era and what's different about DeShaun that he's not able to overcome?
Yeah, you're right. Michael Vick is I said there weren't a lot of examples. I was wrong. You're right. Michael Vick is a really good example. Although again, mentally, like who knows coming into that, how he feels, whatever. But I do think with Vick and with, Andy Reid and him worked together to kind of rebuild him as a quarterback. He did not play later in his career the way he did earlier in his career. I mean, he's still extremely athletic and they still used his legs, but his game did evolve in that second part of his career in a way that I don't see DeShaun Watson's game having evolved when he's on the field. It's almost like, when like somebody tries to fit into their clothes from when they were young or something and they don't fit anymore and they're still insisting that they fit. That's kind of what it looks like
before COVID.
God,
that's my least favorite game. Do these jeans still fit?
Yeah, I don't play that one anymore.
Is this what happened to Russell Wilson, though, when you talk about the mobility and the elusiveness and where it is that a quarterback sort of dies a little bit?
Yeah, it's not dissimilar. You're right. I mean, I really think there's a lot of similarities. I think Watson was probably better than Russ at certain points, although Russ was, I think, more consistent longer and whatever. But yeah, I do think it's similar when you watch him. So much of what Russell Wilson does is based on similar things. Russell Wilson is never going to be a quick game quarterback. He's never going to throw to the middle of the field consistently. When Sean Payton took that job, it was pointed out, well, he kept Drew Brees' career going long past his arm dying out, but that was never like Russell Wilson's arm, as you saw in that Hail Mary, is still really strong. The problem is the things he's good at and his weaknesses are not things that age particularly well. Now, I do want to say something. Having watched Russell Wilson, he's not currently the problem in Denver. I actually think he's not playing that terribly, and the defense is the bigger problem. But it was predictable. It should have been predictable that the back nine of his career would not look great.
Can you tell us what you feel like you've learned the first 2 weeks that you did not know?
That I didn't know coming into the season. I think Kansas City's offense, they'll probably be fine, but the offensive tackle issue is real. The talent issue is real. You can be bad at kind of skill players. One of those things, but not both at the same time. I think we sort of suspected Joe Burrow's injury would be a pretty big problem in Cincinnati. I mean, it was the re-aggravation at the end of the game that has me concerned, but I am seriously worried about that offense if that's a thing that's going to linger. Just to go back to the Dolphins, that offense struggled a bit at the end of the season outside of Tua's injuries. And I feel like we knew Mike McDaniel was good. We knew this offense was a buzzsaw. Like statistically, they were insane the first half of the season. What we have seen in this first part of the season is two things. One, Mike McDaniel this is not the same offense we saw last year. He has made I'm sure you guys are eating it up in Miami, all these like the short motions, what he's doing in the run game. Like he's continued to make tweaks in a way that great coaches do. It is an evolving organism. And I think Tua has flashed moments as a playmaker outside of structure, particularly in week 1, that he did not consistently do last season. that make me more confident in him as a quarterback than I was last year.
We were giving the stats earlier that he's getting rid of the ball quicker than anybody in the sport, and also throwing it downfield, 10 yards on average, tied for most in the sports. When I tell you that the Dolphins are first in using motion in the league and second in play action in the league, that tells you what about how they're undressing people?
It's a combination of speed, accuracy, anticipation, but then screwing with defenses' rules and alignments before the snap that makes it very hard to stop. If they were an offense that was fast and Tua got the ball out and he was throwing in all that stuff, but they were static, defenses could better prepare for what they're seeing. Defenses could try to confuse them on the back end the way some great defenses do. I think Dallas does a fantastic job with them. But you can't do that because all of the chess pieces on the board are moving before the snap. So if you try to move before the snap, because of the speed and the downfield attack, you're going to be in the wrong position. I mean, football really, right, it's about leverage, it's about angles. And right now, they are screwing with the math of the game because they're constantly putting defenders in positions where they're going to take a bad angle. Somebody on the football field, because of what's happening before the snap, is going to be out of position or take a bad angle. It's really, really hard to stop.
This all sounds way too good to be true. She's got like the Chiefs and the Bengals going in this direction. The Bills didn't look good in week 1. I know they looked better last week, but it just all seems too good to be true for the Dolphins right now.
Good to be true, because as soon as he gets hurt, you're proper bleeped.
That's right.
Can't really fight that.
But
I can't make dolphin noises.
Okay, let's do that. Was Aaron Rodgers bleeping with us when he said that part of his healing regimen is listening to dolphins have sex?
Answer is a dolphin.
Answer is a dolphin.
I'm like a dolphin having sex. I know. No, wait, no. Oh,
no, I didn't say like
I did it so well during the break. It had to be.
Did you?
Did you?
No.
No, that's somebody drowning.
Please save her from herself here. This is like some
nailing it.
No, this is like some really weird fetish that's going to be sold on the dark web. So please stop this.
Take 2, lay out.
Mina, you don't want this out there.
Just do it.
You okay?
Are you sobbing? It sounds like you're ugly crying. It does not. It's sad dolphins having unpleasant sex that makes them both feel unpleasant about what they're doing together.
They're the only animals other than humans who have sex for pleasure, right?
That is true. Yes.
Yeah. So why would it be unpleasant?
Well, we were saying how you sounded. Anthony Richardson, how did he look to you before he got hurt?
He looked good. I mentioned CJ Stroud, but I thought Richardson looked good too. I think I liked him a lot as a prospect. I felt like the athleticism and what he can do with his legs gives him, and his size, his sheer size and strength, it gives him like a floor coming into the NFL because it clarifies coverages. It makes it easier it makes it harder for defenses to just figure out how to play him. But I also thought, like, when you watched him, he was seeing the field well and making the right reads in an offense that felt catered to his skill set, which is why I liked the landing spot so much. Shane Steichen coming from Philadelphia, it just felt like the right marriage.
A reminder that you should find, wherever it is you find your podcasts, the Lenny podcast with Mina Kimes. That is getting very popular. Also, as she mentioned, Pablo Torre Finds Out, which is even more popular. This makes Mina insane that Pablo Torre Finds Out is even more popular.
I don't think it's more popular. It's not true.
Well, for the moment, capitalizing on algorithms and such.
I don't think the numbers support that.
No. I think they do. Pablo Torre Finds Out is where she will be found doing some of her best work. Pablo Torre Finds Out. Where
you don't always have to pit them against one another.
They pit each other against each other.
You're doing it.
They are competitive. Okay. They are very competitive.
Hey, Dad.
See you later, Mina. Good talking to you.
See you soon.
Chris, you may be surprised to learn that Roy came in this week, and you can never predict what Roy will be obscenely pissed off about. And this week, it was that Winning Time was canceled after 2 seasons by HBO. Winning Time by our friend Adam McKay was really creative and fun and unusual. And
Sounds like they lost.
Losing Time would have been the better joke there, Chris.
I think any of the jokes would have been funny there, especially to interrupt Dan with.
I'm just saying, that would have been the better joke.
He
even though it was
workshopped
bad.
Losing Time. I said go with it, and then he went with Lost.
Well, you guys workshopped it. I said no. And you went anyway.
Ran through the stop sign.
thanks for
I was
doing
out.
that. Yes, you were out, and you got the third base coach fired, and the coach wants to kill you now, wants to strangle you to death so that your face becomes even redder than it is right now.
But at least we're here now.
Roy, how do you feel? How would you articulate to us how hurt you were? Why is it that it was an unreasonable amount of hurt? I liked the show, too. I enjoyed how creative it was. The recreations, this is difficult, right? I saw some of the behind-the-scenes video on, cameramen on roller skates moving around the basketball court to recreate a close-up on Larry Bird's face as he's trying to guard Magic Johnson, an actor who looked like Larry Bird. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, these people looked realistic enough to make me believe that they were an excellent depiction, excellent casting. What is it that hurts you so much about it?
Well, they have so much more story to go to, and obviously this is based on a true story, so I'm not spoiling anything for you. The very first scene was Magic Johnson finding out they had HIV. They're not going to get to that. They ended the show with the Celtics winning the finals. I mean, come on, that's bad. They're not going to talk about Pat Riley going to New York. They were about to get to Cookie Johnson marrying Magic Johnson. They're not going to get to that. It's just so much more to go.
It hurts when you make an emotional investment in some of these shows, when they grab you, when you're binging them, and then all of a sudden they're just gone.
We could have had a Happy Breakfast Club post-credit scene of just Pat Riley spent the rest of his career beating the shit out of Boston.
I feel responsible for this because I enjoyed season 1 but didn't start season 2. So I feel like it's people like me that are the reason.
No, this has nothing to do with viewership. This is not the way these decisions are being made.
I like to
now.
think it was because of me.
Okay, it was because of you.
I kind of share the same guilt because now I'm not even getting to season 2. I wanted to watch it. I was just, doing stuff.
Oh, it sounds like it was Mike's fault too.
Yeah, Jeff Herman blames both of you.
I'm a contributing factor here. But now why invest myself? I know it's art, but come on.
It did seem like an expensive show.
It did seem
John C.
expensive.
Reilly by himself was probably $10 million a year.
Yeah.
Mike Ryan broke news to me the other day about Jeannie Buss, and she famously dated Phil Jackson for a long time. The Buss family famously broke apart, at least in part because the brothers weren't very good at running things, and Jeannie was better as a business mind, but couldn't lure Phil Jackson back at the end, which had to be awkward through their relationship, to come and fix everything that he destroyed while he was with the Knicks. But Mike Ryan told me, and I did not know this, that Jeannie Buss is now dating the comedian Jay Moore, who they were doing at the Forum. They were doing some comedy show nights together. I did not know that they were dating, though. They have like a business partnership where comedian Jay Moore is doing comedy circuit stuff with her.
Jay Moore was on this season. He played Kareem's agent.
Just think about what a great epilogue that would have been. Jeannie Buss married this guy. That's in the show.
I had such high hopes for Jay Moore's late night comedy show on ESPN because of how talented he is as a comedian and how good he was on Jim Rome's show.
It was actually good. More Sports was good. It just really didn't fit what ESPN was doing. And that was, if you think ESPN's conservative now, which I guess by comparison, they're not at all, because Greeny can say the F word now and we'll all kick our head back and laugh because, let's admit it, that's funny.
And Mad Dog can tell you he's on drugs and drinking.
Yeah, what's going on over there?
As soon as we leave, they let people have all sorts of fun. Let's update the polls at Levitard
So long
Show.
you're in line with our politics. Let's read the polls, Chris
By
Cote.
the way, Chris Cote, I think, was supposed to pay his penalty today of speaking the entire
I was supposed to talk like this all show today.
as the Dark Knight, not Alex Jones.
I'm workshopping it still.
What are you talking about?
Do the polls. This does not serve your punishment. You were supposed to speak all show as the Dark Knight. Do the polls as the Dark Knight.
I'll give you 5 seconds to workshop the right key as I read the sponsor tag, because the polls are brought to you by Dollar Shave Club, Epic Razors, epically affordable. Find them in stores or online.
If you came home and TJ Hawkinson was in your living room, would you poop your pants? 61% said yes. Is lip balm a life necessity? 59 says yes. Fat white face, fat white face. Older phrase for drinking. On the hooch, couple of nips.
I feel like you're starting to lose it a little
On
bit.
the hooch, 63%.
You could not do this for a full show. Do you realize how catastrophic it would be to your career and your voice if you tried to do this?
Do you ever expect a headbutt? Falcone. 90% say no. Jackhammer. Action star or porn star? Porn star, 81%. Falcone.
Falcone.
Would you trust your head coach more if his name was Jackhammer?
Just slow down. Just slow down.
72% say yes.
Just relax.
It is Alex Jones.
You know, I'm back. If Vrabel actually cut it off, would it be a stretch to think he would throw it? Swear to me. 82% say no. Better? Burgers or tacos? Burgers, 56% upset. Alfred. Did you know that Evel Knievel wasn't particularly good at motor? Do you love a little honk?
Wait a minute.
72% say yes.
I want the motorcycle. Jake Tapper told us that Evel Knievel was...
Commissioner Gordon.
Give me the motorcycle.
Did you know that Evel Knievel wasn't particularly a good... Damn it. This is a tough sentence. Now I feel like the dirty demon. Did you know that Evel Knievel wasn't particularly good? This is written poorly.
Was not. He wasn't a particular...
Did you know that Evel Knievel wasn't a particularly good motorcyclist?
That's Bruce Wayne?
That was a good sentence.
Batman phonetically having to sound things out because he's a poor reader is a new great character.
Do the rest of this as that.
Do this forever. Go bleep yourself, Dan.
No, do it.
Forever.
Do it as poor reading.
Do you say?
No, stop.
10 G's or 10K? 10K, 65%. Harvey Dent. Oh, I found it again. Was the Dan Le Batard Show funny until COVID ruined all their brains? Scarecrow. 77% say yes, I'm done.
You are such...
Good night, everyone.
My throat hurts listening.
Everyone go bleep yourself.
I think, Mike Ryan, we have to develop more segments around Chris Cote reading poorly.
Rachel, where is she?
Pretty solid.
Yeah, that's the best one, yeah.
When are you going to do some of your punishments? You told me. I promise.
Does this count?
You said
It
no.
can't be worse than Stugotz's the other day.
No. In fact, it was so bad it doesn't count. There is actually an editorial board now. You can't just half-ass these.
Stugotz just going.
Yeah. Well, Stugotz decided to lip sync for an America's Got Talent. I reviewed the tape and realized that's not a talent. So he's going to have to do something better.
I am worried about the upcoming football season for a number of different reasons, because there are 15 weeks of this left, and already, Mike Ryan, Billy is fed up with Stugotz, and Stugotz is on Monday ending the show, petering out by just saying into a microphone, "I'm tired," as an excuse for all the ways that he is mailing it in. God bless football is an important property around here that is getting a lot of success, but Billy is going to be made crazy by Stugotz and his scheduling, and now lacrosse has started again. And I am genuinely...
You say scheduling as if there is actually any scheduling.
I'm worried about the mental health of Billy. I believe this battering of Stugotz lies and scheduling and let's tape now, but I'm not available and I'm irresponsible. I'm worried about the sanity of Billy. I don't know how much he can handle this with also screaming children, babies in the house, or a toddler and a baby in the house, where you guys can all speak to how difficult this time is to get an infant to sleep correctly so that you can maintain some semblance of proper rest and sanity.
Yeah, you have something in your life that is constantly screaming, complaining. You're trying to figure out how to help it. It can't get out of its own way. Constantly trying to. Yeah.
I ruined your joke.
Yeah, you did. You did.
It was a good one, too, man.
It was. I was getting there.
Jesus Christ.
I was getting there.
I'm tired.
Well, I hope you have another minute in you, because this one's the hard out.
I got this, Dan. Lay out.
You got us?
Rachel! I'm in rerun. Commissioner Gordon!
Yeah, this is one you actually have to hit the number right on the mark, Dan.
I miss the polls, I've got to be honest.
If only there was a joke that would have gone on and on, building to a crescendo.
You want to try it again?
No, not at all. Thank you.
I didn't realize you were headed there. I'm sorry that I fouled up your joke. I'm sorry that I fouled up your timing. I am genuinely worried, though.
Now we're back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am genuinely worried about what's going to happen to Billy, because they're going to kill each other, is what.
You know, Charlotte just left our studio, and she didn't actually just go do oddball. She just left. I think she quit.
Is shred some tar a real thing?
It should be. That sounded cool. Yeah, shred some tar.
Hit him, Mike.
Two Americas.
Now do that as Batman shredding tar.
Commissioner Gordon! Rachel!